In the 1960s, the primary music location on the National Orange Show Fairgrounds in San Bernardino would have been the Swing Auditorium. Many notable concerts took place in the 7,300 capacity building. But if a National Orange Show concert or dance only required a building with room for an audience of 1,500 or so, the go-to venue would have been the Kaiser Dome. It was an example of a geodesic dome. Geodesic domes are self-supported spherical structures composed of rigid triangles. The two individuals most associated with this type of structure were American architect Buckminster Fuller and American industrialist Henry J. Kaiser. Fuller was also known as a writer, designer, inventor, philosopher, and futurist. While he wasn't the original inventor, he popularized the geodesic dome in the United States. Kaiser's company built the Liberty ships during World War II. After the war, he formed the Kaiser Aluminum and Kaiser Steel companies. He also introduced the Kaiser Permanente health care system for his workers and their families. Kaiser wanted to combine his construction resources and aluminum with Fuller's design. The two men joined forces to construct a number of Kaiser domes in the United States. The first Kaiser dome built was in Honolulu, Hawaii, on the grounds of Kaiser's Hawaiian Village Hotel. The design and the workers were so efficient that construction was completed in 20 working hours. San Bernardino's Kaiser Dome was built on the fairgrounds of the National Orange Show. At first, hobby shows and various other exhibits were presented in the building, but two local individuals saw potential in the building to host dance concerts. These two men were Jesus Valdez, who worked for the Santa Fe Railroad, and Manuel Quevedo Jr., who had been a member of the San Bernardino Police Department since 1941. Valdez coordinated the Kaiser Dome from 1961 to 1964. Quevedo was manager of the venue from 1961 to 1967. Initially, they booked acts that reflected their musical tastes. This meant that they booked nationally known Latin dance bands that played mambo, cha-cha-cha, cumbia, merengue, salsa, and rumba music. Many of these bands called New York City their home. The dance concerts were so popular that the San Bernardino Sun newspaper began to refer to the Kaiser Dome as a Mexican dance palace. One of their earliest promotions was held on December 25, 1961. The dance featured the Inland Empire group, the Bob Velasquez Orchestra. It was sponsored by the local American Legion Post 709. Valdez and Quevedo were both members of the Post. Free Orange Show tickets were given away with each admission. On New Year's Eve, 1961, the two men presented a dance featuring Ralph Laguna and his orchestra. The event was again sponsored by the American Legion Post 709. In addition to favors and cocktails, more free Orange Show passes were given out. Perhaps the first big-name entertainer to appear at the Kaiser Dome was Rene Touzé and his orchestra on Easter Sunday, April 22, 1962. Touzé was a Cuban-born American composer, pianist, and bandleader. In the late 1940s, he was a member of the Desi Arnaz Orchestra until he decided to strike out on his own, playing merengue, cha-cha-cha, and mambo music. His Easter dance concert at the Kaiser Dome was so well received that he was booked for an encore performance on June 9, 1962. October 1962 saw a Halloween dance with an appearance by Eddie Encinas and his orchestra. Encinas and his group were based in the Latin Quarter nightclub in Hollywood. Encinas and his orchestra were recording artists with a number of LP album releases to their credit. Also in October 1962, there was a rally staged at Kaiser Dome for Richard Nixon, who was running for governor of California. Nixon's wife, Pat, also attended, as did Chuck Connors, who was the star of the TV Western The Rifleman. 2 years later, Ronald Reagan campaigned at the Dome for Barry Goldwater, who was running for president in 1964. In May of 1963, Lalo Gonzalez, a.k.a. Piporro, appeared at the Kaiser Dome and sang with his group Los Braveros del Norte. Also performing that evening were comedian Jose Hasso, Nilda the Tahitian dancer, and Tony Gomez and his orchestra. Gonzalez was well known in the Spanish-speaking community because he appeared in a number of popular Mexican movies. In addition to being a movie star, Gonzalez was also a recording artist, releasing a number of albums over the years. Puerto Rican-American pianist, bandleader, musician, and composer Eddie Palmieri played the venue in November 1963. In 1961, Palmieri founded his orchestra Conjunto La Perfecta. To this day, the group is known as one of the swingingest, most danceable, innovative, and influential groups of that period. January 11, 1964, saw a performance by Joe Cuba and his orchestra. Cuba was an American conga drummer of Puerto Rican descent. He was credited as being the father of a style of music known as Latin Boogaloo. By the mid-1960s, the Kaiser Dome was attracting a younger demographic as it began featuring rock, Chicano, and soul dance bands. In May 1964, two young I.E. bands, the Royalistics and the Viscounts, played a Kaiser Dome dance to raise money for the John F. Kennedy Memorial Library Fund. In April 1965, an Easter Sunday Battle of the Bands dance took place in the Kaiser Dome. Among the I.E. bands appearing were the Imperials, the Elegants, the Jades, the Bushmen, the Germs, plus Donnie and the Bilangos, whose name was misspelled on this flyer. Antero promoted an event called Sounds of the Dome. It was held in October 1965. I.E. groups The Dynamic 4+1 and the McGee Sisters were the co-headliners. Tickets cost $1.25 in advance and $1.50 at the door. Also playing that evening were two other I.E. musical acts. Third billed was Don Ray Sampson, who had a locally released single entitled Take It Easy. The song was noteworthy because it was written, arranged, and conducted by fellow I.E. musician-songwriter Jimmy Webb. San Bernardino group The Facades opened the evening. On Saturday, May 20, 1967, the Elites Women's Club of Riverside presented a fundraising dance at the Kaiser Dome. The featured I.E. band had recently added a member because they were now called the Dynamic 5+1. June 23rd saw an appearance by I.E. bands The Bandits and the Jades at the Kaiser Dome, as seen in the This Is What's Happening calendar page of the Came Entertainer weekly publication. One of the most memorable concerts held at the Kaiser Dome was on the 4th of July, 1967, when the Doors played the venue. The band performed in front of a sold-out crowd of 1,600 fans. At the time, the group had the #1 song on the Billboard Hot 100 music chart, Light My Fire. Opening for the Doors was Inland Empire group The Light. The band had earned some local notoriety and was the subject of a front-page story of the Came Entertainer magazine. Lead singer Jim Morrison's antics allegedly resulted in an injury to an audience member, and the Doors were sued. The complete story of that incident was told in an earlier episode of Tales From The I.E. In the mid-1960s, there was an explosion of bands coming out of East Los Angeles. One of the most popular of these bands was The Midnighters. Their first local hit was the instrumental Whittier Boulevard. It was a tribute to the East LA tradition of cruising the boulevard. San Bernardino youth could easily relate because cruising E Street was also a thing. On July 22nd and August 4th, 1967, the band played a pair of well-attended dances at the Kaiser Dome. These two ads appeared in the San Bernardino Sun newspaper. If one brought the ad to the box office, a 25-cent deduction was made to the price of admission. This discount continued for future appearances of the band. The Midnighters' August 4th appearance was mentioned in San Bernardino radio station KMEN's KM Entertainment calendar. Also announced was an upcoming August 10th appearance by the San Francisco band Big Brother and the Holding Company. Opening this concert was another company band, the Peppermint Trolley Company from Redlands. The group had singles that received airplay on KMEN and appeared on the local charts. Big Brother and the Holding Company featured the soon-to-be legendary lead vocalist Janis Joplin. An account of the concert by Peppermint Trolley Company member Danny Farragher claimed that his group was left holding the bag when the Big Brother band was a no-show. The story of that evening was told in an earlier episode of Tales From The I.E. On December 2nd, 1967, promoters Airport Music presented the Midnighters for a dance-in show. Once again, 25 cents was deducted from the ticket price if the buyer brought in a copy of the ad. A Christmas Eve 1967 concert featured two popular Inland Empire Chicano bands. San Bernardino's Facades opened for Colton's premieres. An advance sale ticket cost $1.75. At the door, a ticket cost $2. In January 1968, promoters Airport Music presented a pair of dance shows by the Midnighters. The 25-cent ticket discount continued, but girls were warned that they would not be admitted to the dance if they wore capri pants. In February 1968, the Midnighters made their sixth appearance at the Kaiser Dome. There was again a 25-cent ticket discount, and the ban on capri pants continued. As noted earlier, in Colton there was a band calling itself the Premiers. Around the same time, there was a San Gabriel group with the same name. San Gabriel's Premiers formed in 1962 and released their first album in 1964. They appeared at the Kaiser Dome in February 1968. The Incredibles appeared in March 1968. They had a minor local hit with their cover of I Love You for Sentimental Reasons. The song was a 1947 hit for the Nat King Cole Trio. In July 1968, a pair of I.E. rock bands new to the Kaiser Dome appeared for a dance. Headlining was The Now. The opening group was the Peace and Freedom Movement. In September 1969, three I.E. Chicano groups played the Kaiser Dome. Resurrection and Shades of Brown opened for the headlining Jades. An advance sale ticket was $2. At the door, the price was $2.25. In November 1969, the Chancellor's Car Club of San Bernardino staged a Thanksgiving ball at the Kaiser Dome, featuring I.E. bands Life and the Jades. In the 1970s, 1980s, and forward, concerts and dances continued to be held at the Kaiser Dome. Today, the venue is known simply as the Dome. It continues to feature wedding receptions, quinceañeras, dances, and occasional concerts.